Tonight, pollution on Lake Wakatipu is causing concern. A Dunedin brass band bound for glory in the States. And in Stewart Island, a very special ceremony. Good evening. A split appears to be developing between different factions in the Clyde Dam dispute. A group of women from Alexandra were reported to have got an extremely hostile reception when they went to Cromwell this afternoon. They were there to encourage the wives of striking Zublin Williamson workers to attend a meeting in Alexandra tomorrow night to talk about bringing the strike to an end. A delegation of those opposed to a return to work is also expected to attend the meeting. Queenstown's Department of Conservation is concerned about pollution in the Inner Bay. It's launched a study to find out how serious the problem is and what can be done about it. Jim Moore reports.
Over the last 5 or 6 years, there's been a noticeable increase in the amount of pollution in Queenstown's inner harbour. This is partly because of Queenstown's stormwater system, which is considered archaic, and partly because of the increased use of pollutants.
From pollution from diesel, from pollution from some of the stormwater drains and so on, following up with a lot of the contractors and development that's gone on around here. There's painting it up in some of the stormwater systems, and hence it ends up in the bay.
On the surface, as it were, there doesn't look to be much of a problem here, but the poison being dumped into the lake can't be ignored.
It's very toxic to all the living flora and fauna in the lake, and it's going to create some serious problems, primarily for those animals in the upper food chain, and in this case in the lake, the fish.
How serious could it become?
Well, it is toxic. It seems to accumulate in the bay, both in the plants and within the sediments in the lake.
Right.
And so it's a slow release that is slowly killing off what we've identified so far, the aquatic vegetation.
If nothing were done, changes in the lake would be quite noticeable. The vegetation being affected protects the lake bottom, so as well as plant and fish life being damaged, the famous pure clean water would start to look dirty and murky. In the South's tourist capital, that would be something of a disaster.
At Mount Cook National Park, there are troubles of a very different kind. Mount Cook staff were involved in a record 29 search and rescue operations last year. Mounting those operations taxed the park's resources to the limit. Rangers say part of the problem is the park's popularity and that overseas climbers tend to underrate the dangers of the park. Rob Cope-Williams with this report.
Mount Cook National Park attracts about 180,000 visitors a year, but the majority don't go further than the Mount Cook village. That means scenery like this is only seen by climbers and those who take tourist flights. The park has recently been granted World Heritage status. That means it ranks as a World Tourist Attraction alongside places like the Grand Canyon in America and the Taj Mahal in India. The government hopes publicity attracted by the new classification will mean more tourists for the park. Park rangers say overseas climbers are still likely to arrive ill-prepared for the terrain.
Compares Mount Cook 12,000 feet with mountains in their own country, and so it doesn't compare very favourably. Low mountain, therefore must be easy climb. Once they get here, of course, things turn out a lot different, and they do go away with a great deal of respect for the place.
Last year, the 14 huts in the region sheltered 6,500 climbers. And park rangers try very hard to ensure they know what everyone is doing.
You can see here we have our intentions book. Record your intentions, first name, surname, address, and over the side here the date you begin the trip and the date you finish the trip.
Rangers call each hut every night at 7. That ensures everyone is accounted for, and the rangers can cross-reference people's intended movements in the region.
Yeah, Roger, copy that. Is that the Lawrence and Western parties? Over.
That's right. There's 3 of us in the Lawrence party and it's Western party. That's right. Over.
But problems do arise. There are new lakes forming almost daily at the base of the many glaciers in the park, and this leads to access problems for both climbers and rangers. Ice falls and avalanches are regular occurrences, and climbers can slip or fall.
We start back at headquarters, check the intentions card, what were their intentions, where were they staying, go to the hut, check the book in the hut book. have they entered a route, what particular route they're going to do. So we slowly narrow it down so that when we do start looking, we've sort of narrowed it to an area as to where to look.
There are 12 rangers working in the park, all trained in rescue skills and all experienced climbers. With so much going on in the Mount Cook National Park, rangers never know when their skills will be needed.
Queenstown's Lady of the Lake has gone ashore this month. She's having her annual survey at the Kelvin Peninsula Slipway. The Earnslaw's engines and boilers are being checked, and there's some structural work underway on the lower aft saloon. It'll cost about $100,000. She'll be back in service next month, in time to capitalise on the height of the ski season. With the Earnslaw high and dry, let's see if the weather managed that today as well, and it certainly looks like it. Half Moon Bay was cloudy with 10 degrees. Invercargill cloudy and 8. Gore cloudy and 8. Balclutha sunny and the big high today of 11 degrees. Dunedin cloudy and 9. Palmerston partly cloudy and 9. Oamaru partly cloudy and 9. Kaikorai was sunny with 10 degrees. Ranfurly, not sure of the conditions, but 3 degrees, the low recorded today. Queenstown, fine and 9 degrees. Wanaka, fine, 7. Alexandra, fine and 7. And Te Anau, sunny, double figures with 10 degrees. And the expected highs for tomorrow are Dunedin, 11, and Invercargill, 10 degrees. Members of the Kaikorai band got more than they bargained for when they turned up for practice last night. The band enjoyed some success at the National Championships at Christchurch recently. Now, instead of resting on its laurels, it's bound for even greater things. Bernard Buck has the details.
Fresh from their success as runners-up of the C-grade section of the Nationals, members of the 40-strong Kaikorai band turned up in force last night for their weekly practice. They were just about to get underway when the band's president, Dick Skinner, broke the news.
I have a letter here from the executive manager of the Portland Rose Festival Association, and it says that it is with a great deal of pleasure that I officially confirm the invitation of the Homestyle Kaikorai Band of Dunedin, New Zealand, to be our guest band in the 1989 Portland Rose Festival.
The Portland Rose Festival is one of the United States' top civic celebrations and is held over 17 days each June. With some 50 events, including the Grand Floral Parade, international motor racing and other major sporting events, it's enjoyed by more than 1 million people. The Kaikorai Band has been invited to take part in several events, including the 5 Mile City Festival Parade, expected to be watched by 15 million viewers on television. It's also been invited to appear at several other events.
We're absolutely delighted, Bernard. It's a wonderful opportunity.
How did it come about?
Well, it just so happened that I was in Portland during the Rose Festival last year, and I met their director, and he mentioned that they were always looking for or interested in participation by overseas groups, and so I took that as the cue.
Altogether, about 40 members of the playing band will go to Portland, along with supporters and a marching team, bringing the total group to around 80.
What an honour for you, Kaikorai, and all the very best for your tour. Trinity Sunday, 2 days ago, is a significant date on many church calendars. On Stewart Island, at the tiny Anglican Church of St Andrews, Trinity Sunday was an historic occasion. The church not only held its first ordination, but it was also the first Stewart Island woman to be ordained. She's now the island's only resident cleric. And as Gaynor Smith discovered, she's the only candidate for the Anglican priesthood expected to sing at her own ordination.
The night before she was ordained, Airdrie Dyson-Lesk portrayed a rose bush in the Stewart Island County Hall, and her husband John was a daffodil. She sang Gershwin too on Saturday night. But Sunday evening brought a different theme. She was part of the conspiracy of silence surrounding Saturday's surprise concert. Netta and Frank Rawle thought they were coming to hear a last-minute choir practice for Airdrie's ordination service. The perfect lure for the couple who've been pillars of the Anglican Church on Stewart Island, now moving over the water to Invercargill. Instead, they found themselves guests of honour, as islanders of all ages, shapes and sizes turned on a show specially for them. The conspiracy gave the lie to any suggestion that it's impossible to keep a secret on Stewart Island. And it showed how determined locals were, that this couple, former storekeepers, who to some people were Stewart Island, shouldn't leave without being thanked. Hence a painting of Bragg's Bay, where Netta Rawle, née Bragg, grew up. Lesk Bay, where Airdrie and her husband John live, is named after his family. It's a far cry from Auckland, where she sang with the Sinfonia Opera Company and Bach Cantata Group. She's been a Messiah soloist 9 times. Last year she became a deacon in this small parish.
I think possibly it's really that we've got an extended family. Everybody cares about each other. You're not sort of lost in a group of people. You know everybody. It can be an advantage, I guess, and sometimes not.
Stewart Island Anglicans have had no resident clergy for more than a generation, like other denominations here. And tonight's ordination service is the first in the church's 90-odd years. The Bishop of Dunedin, Peter Mann, is joined for the service by other clergy from over the water. And it was he who made the point that he knew of no other candidate for the Anglican priesthood expected to sing at her own ordination service. Fittingly, Netta Rawle represents the congregation.
She has served the church well as a deacon. We believe her to be a good servant of Jesus Christ.
In the name of the people of God, we ask you to ordain her.
Airdrie, do you believe that you are truly called to this office and work of a priest?
I believe that God and His church are calling me to this ministry. I give thanks for the church's fellowship. I shall teach its faith, serve its purpose, and obey its authority, according to the declarations I have made. And so I offer myself to be ordained priest.
The laying on of hands is the moment of ordination.
Holy God, Lord of heaven and earth, send down your Holy Spirit on your servant Airdrie, whom in your name we ordain a priest in your church.
Ordination for Airdrie Dyson-Lesk doesn't mean a stipend. She'll still work in the Department of Conservation Office and direct Stewart Island's upcoming musical. This year it's Bless 'Em All. But now she can take communion services, which she couldn't as a deacon. And the congregation has more than once-a-month visits.
In a case like that, you don't even get close to your parish priest. You don't know them when they come in. There's changes all the time. And that's something I hope we can build up a close relationship together. And the church caring for the people who live on Stewart Island.
And I think she'll do it. We'll be back tomorrow. Good night.